You started with the first two and kind of unpacking their core and the value behind it. How has the third matured?
Yeah.
Because sonically it's different. If people have been along for the ride, or if you're new to the Reveille, if you want to go back and listen through all of them, you're going to hear just kind of a maturity, both in the way that it was recorded, but also what you guys did from instrumentation and time signatures, all sorts of things. Can you unpack some of that?
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing that I learned personally kind of through the process is how much better things get when we collaborate. The first record was kind of just me, and it kind of arose out of some necessity. A lot of them were, you know, for films that our story team was producing. Okay. And so there's a lot of stuff that came out of, you know, just the necessity of needing like a soundtrack for a film. And as we kind of got into it, I realized like, man, how much better these would be if I had great musicians that are like helping me do this. You know, and so for the second one, my friend Dave Wiley came in, and I had written the songs, but, and I wanted them to have like a big orchestra sort of stuff, but I have no idea how to do that. And so I would just send him like terrible versions of me playing like...
Make this great.
Yeah, like a violin doing this, and he would write back and be like, hey dude, this is not physically possible for a violinist to play this. And so it was like very obvious that like, man, having expert musicians collaborate is gonna take something that may be decent and can make it really, really good. And so the hope, you know, even with Volume 3 and hopefully beyond, is like, man, how can we get more people involved collaborating together and writing together? And so that's you know, why I invited Matt, you know, for Volume 3, because we've worked together for a number of years in our worship band anyway, and we work really well together, and he's such an expert musician, not only a player, but just a writer, and has such a great sense of melody that I wanted to like, you know, I wanted to piggyback on his great ideas, honestly.
So with collaboration there, everybody has this lofty view, you know, like insert collaboration, man, you get the best out of it. Yeah. But behind the scenes, there's gotta be like some tension and some, man, I don't like that idea, that's not making it, no it should. How did y'all work out the tension? Can you give personal experience? Like there's that one time that this happened, or this, I wanted this instrument and you wanted this, or how did y'all work through that? Both from your perspective, viewing it through the lens of Scripture, you as a Christian, how did you, the posture you took with each other, and then how did that play out? What did that look like?
Well, I think it was a little easy for us to start off collaborating, because Kyle came in and he said, hey, this is how I want it. This is my vision for this Reveille. And it kind of just set the scene to where I knew what to give him. And that really helped with collaboration. So it helped later on down the road when I showed him something, it was exactly what he was wanting. It was exactly what he was looking for. And then, yeah, I mean, there were a few songs that we kind of had to shelve that were not. We're like, oh, maybe we'll use this for something else because it won't fit. I don't think it'll fit this. But I think it was just, as an artist, I think having to like let go of stuff like that. You know, it's challenging, but it grows you as a musician and a songwriter.
I love how you put that, just the vision, having that, and just watching you guys from a distance, like close, we work together, but looking at your relationship and your working dynamic, I hadn't thought about it in those terms of you felt freedom, not anxiety, from having a very clear vision. I think we can all learn that. Yeah. If we're in a place of co-write or some sort of collaboration, especially artistry, because we're so tied, it's so tied to our identity. Somehow in that, with clear vision, you didn't lose freedom, you gained it because you had parameters. How, from your perspective in casting that, what posture did you take to allow that sort of freedom? Because some visionaries, they come in and come hell or high water, it's going to be their way or the highway. How did you cast that in a way that got the best out of Matt?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think like, I think that I would say, you know, having done this for a number of years now, there's a certain thing that you learn. I mean, you know the same feeling that's like, you sort of know what you think you want to go for, and you want to like start off with an aim. Here's the place to like, you know, start the car and start driving this way. But I mean, hopefully having the realization that over years of doing this, you've learned, I may not know the best way to do this. You know, here's what I think it should be, but if you're going to hold it too tight, then you're either going to like really strain collaboration because you're like, no, I told you to do this, you got to do this. Or you're going to end up with something that's not as good as it could be simply because you weren't willing to sort of let it take its own, you know, way, let it find its own life, so to speak. And so, I mean, one of the things we were talking about earlier even was just like, man, collaborating with people that you trust. You know, like a lot of the process of collaborating in art starts by, dude, I love you and I trust you. So I know when I say like, hey, can you do this? I know that you can do it. And so in the same capacity, it was like, you know, what Matt said a moment ago of that he would sit down and play something at the piano. It's like, I've heard him do that stuff. I know that he can do it really well and really easily and better than I can do it. So it's kind of like, hey, what if we tried to do this together and here's what we're gonna aim for, but who knows if that's exactly where we'll end up. And just letting it be okay, especially with something like art that is a very fluid thing. Like, man, if we end up somewhere else, that's okay too. You know, maybe that's where it was supposed to end up.